Hey everyone, today I want to talk about self-care. I actually am getting over a little bit of a cold. I'm currently sipping on my mom's famous hot honey lemonade that is very soothing to my throat. Forgive me if you can hear it in my voice a little bit, I'm doing the best I can. But having this cold reminded me of the importance of self-care and taking that time to really make sure that you're doing okay. And to be honest, I feel like I see a lot of videos about self-care, but so many of them just use simple behavioral strategies, which are solid and good, like going on a walk, listening to some music. But I think that what makes self-care really impactful is if we think about it in a different way than just looking at a set of specific behaviors we can do. I think instead, if we think of self-care as a system, as a network of behaviors and strategies that are tailored to you, we can develop a self-care approach that works specifically for us and our needs. I think that by understanding ourselves, by looking at our patterns of behavior, by looking at the ruts that we get into, by looking at the core problems that we're facing, we can get closer to overcoming them and determine which behaviors and strategies are really going to soothe us and relax us. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about self-care. I spent hours and hours literature searching, looking at research on self-care or related topics. And I also have a PhD in clinical psychology. I used to give therapy. I have changed careers since, but that informs how I'm approaching this topic. That being said, ultimately, this is my opinion. Feel free to take it or leave it. But today, what I want to share with you are 7 specific building blocks to understanding yourself and to implement a set of strategies that work for you and help you get back to that space where you're feeling calm, relaxed, and recharged. I also want to say a quick thank you for Zuvi for partnering with me on this video and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and I will talk more about them later. So let's get into the 7 building blocks of self-care. The first one is probably one of the most important, and that is to recognize when we need to intervene and engage in self-care. Part of the problem with self-care is that we forget to do it. We get so bogged down in the day-to-day tasks and to-dos that we forget to take the time to do the things that rejuvenate us or help us relax. And it's only later, when it's too late, when we're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out, that we realize we should have probably done something sooner. I know I have a track record of doing that way too often, so I've really had to work to pay attention to when I'm starting to get burnt out. And so I think it's important to actually take the time to sit down, to write down a list maybe, and evaluate what are the signs or the triggers that should signal to me that it's time to do something that's self-care focused. This is part of the system. It's about initiating that behavior. It's about getting started on self-care instead of just totally forgetting it. I know sometimes I live on autopilot, and as humans, let's be honest, we're creatures of habit. We get in grooves, and so it's important to realize when maybe it's time to switch things up. I also think sometimes some of those reminders can actually just be thoughts. If you notice you're starting to get into, say, a negative thought pattern, if there's a certain type of thought that creeps up on you that's really problematic, things that will get in your way, things like I'm worthless or I'm not worthy. Those are thoughts that sometimes we have when we're just in a down, dark place, but they might not be totally accurate, and they might actually serve as a signal that maybe it's time to engage in some self-care. A second building block of self-care is to recognize behaviors or patterns that are toxic or are just making your life worse. Some examples might include things as simple and little as spending too much time on social media and self-comparing a lot in a negative way, or overspending, going way beyond your budget, or overbooking your schedule. Recognizing what traps you tend to fall into that make your life harder is so key in making sure that you're caring for yourself. Because if you don't know what pattern you're in, what sort of trap you've created for yourself, it's hard to make things better. A third building block is gratitude. And this one is a little bit more specific of a behavior. Like I said, this list wouldn't be. But the thing is that in positive psychology research, gratitude is so consistently and strongly associated with greater happiness. And so even though gratitude has started to become almost a cliche, it is so powerful. And really, to me, what gratitude is just taking a moment to savor what is good. Even if everything in your life feels like it's going wrong, there is probably 1 or 2 things that you can find that you can be grateful for. And it can even be as simple as, I'm grateful for the beautiful sky and how it constantly is changing. Or I'm grateful for the sound of the birds in the morning. Taking that time to savor, to enjoy, can really boost your mood, and in that sense, really take care of you. A fourth building block is paying attention to your physical health. Might be focusing on your diet or exercise, or just remembering to go to the doctor more and take care of yourself in that way. Or maybe it's also going to therapy, which, by the way, YouTube is never a substitute for. But making sure that we're taking care of our physical health and also our mental health is so important in just taking care of ourselves. And actually, that reminds me of the sponsor of this video, which I will talk about now. So basically, Zuvi sent me the Zuvi Halo hairdryer, which is the best hairdryer I have ever used. And part of the reason why I wanted to partner with Zuvi for this video is that this hairdryer is way, way, way better for the environment. The Zuvi Halo consumes about 60% less power than a traditional hairdryer without compromising drying speed. It uses this light technology that helps your hair dry without taking as much moisture out of it. Many hairdryers get up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, but the Zuvi, because of the light technology, is able to stay at around 111 degrees, which still is nicely warm, like it's still that nice warm feeling, but it's not baking your hair. I personally have very thin, fine hair. I even made a whole video about it, and my hair, I swear, is so much smoother after starting to use this hairdryer. It is an investment piece, but I think it's one that's worth it. And part of why I'm even putting this into the self-care video is the actual feel of the air and the light is just so soothing. It is so luxurious feeling. To me now with this Zuvi hairdryer, my hair drying time in the morning is like my self-soothing time. I know that sounds so weird, but it's a really good experience. They also did actual studies. Let me look on my phone here. This hairdryer also gives you more volume and 57% longer lasting color and plus 9% stronger hair. So I'm telling you, it actually improves the health of your hair. I'm also checking out on their website right now. They have won so many different awards and have been covered by so many big name places like Vogue, like Allure. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about it now because it's getting to be a lot, I'm sure. But if you are on the market for a hairdryer and you want one that's better for the environment and better for your hair and just plain more luxurious to experience, check out the link in the description box below. And thank you again for Zuvi for your support toward my channel. I really appreciate it. A fifth building block is to know what recharges you. You know best. What are the situations or things that you do where you leave the situation and you're just feeling like, bleh, like that took everything out of me? And what are the situations where you leave and you're feeling energized and you're feeling good and hopeful? It's so helpful to use that knowledge to know, hey, when I hang out with this group of friends, I feel so rejuvenated after. Maybe I should do that a little bit more often. Or maybe I just need to remember to do that when I am feeling down. Even though maybe I feel like not doing anything when I'm feeling down, maybe it's spending that time with friends that actually will recharge me. But just be aware of what types of activities, it could be something creative or something physically active. What is it that recharges you and gets you going and motivated? Because sometimes I forget to do those things or to do them at the times when I really need them. And so recognizing and knowing those things can be really impactful at those moments, at those pivotal moments where you might either get into a place where you're feeling down and burnt out, or you're starting to get there, but instead you do something that refocuses and re-energizes you and sets you on the right track. A sixth building block, and I honestly think this might be one of the most important, is to process emotions. And quite often what I mean by that is to process negative emotions. Now, maybe this is getting too into the weeds of the types of therapy I used to deliver, but there was one evidence-based treatment for PTSD that is one of the most effective treatments. People come out of this type of treatment and see huge benefits. And the approach to this PTSD treatment is helping the client or the patient retell their experience of their trauma over and over again to feel the emotions that come up and to process them. And I actually was trained in this therapy at the center where it was founded and got supervision from the creator of the therapy. Anyway, I don't need to go into it all, but basically what she would always talk about was how this therapy is about unfinished business. Sometimes in the context of trauma, it might be, I have unfinished business in my past. Basically that I still have emotions that aren't fully processed. I still have observations about the world, troubling things I'm experiencing that I haven't just given my body the chance to feel and given my brain the chance to process. And so while that's specific to PTSD and is kind of unrelated to just self-care in general, I do think that sometimes when we're stressed out, when we're overwhelmed and feeling burnt out, it's because we've got a lot of cooped up emotions that we haven't actually taken the time and space to feel. And so I almost think it's just a reminder that it's healthy to cry every once in a while, because there's something about crying that when it happens, it allows you to just release those emotions, to be in them, to not be avoiding them, but to just experience them. And it, I think, helps you physically and mentally process what's happening for you. So I think that sometimes giving yourself a little bit of space to process those emotions can actually be a form of self-care. And it's important as part of the system of self-care to recognize when that needs to happen and to give yourself permission to do that. Not to get caught in a spiral where you're always having all these negative thoughts about yourself and listening to those thoughts. I don't mean that. But what I do mean is spending a little bit of time feeling and experiencing what it is that's been bothering you, and to be able to then address it head on. We all have stuff in our lives that's hard, that's difficult to deal with, and I think taking time to acknowledge our negative emotions can help us move past them. And now the seventh building block of self-care is maybe what you think of self-care a little bit more in a cliche way, which is to self-pamper. I think sometimes we need to just give ourselves permission to enjoy. It's very closely related to gratitude, but I also think it's about engaging in self-soothing behaviors that just calm down our nervous system and make us feel better. But you need to figure out what strategies work for you. It might be meditation or listening to a podcast that's kind of meditative. It could be listening to really soothing music. Lately, I've been doing foot soaks, which I find to be so relaxing, and other times I'll do like a face mask or do my nails, and other times I'll also do things like just do my hair really slowly and in a relaxing way. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for coming along with me in this journey of talking through what I think the building blocks of self-care really are. And I think an important takeaway is just to remember that you need to do what works for you, and to just be aware of when you're getting into patterns of problematic behaviors or you're getting in a rut, and to take the time and put the energy into taking care of yourself and doing the things that boost your mood, boost your energy, help you process emotions, and move forward. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button. Taking that moment to do that can make a big difference, so thank you if you're willing to. And thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.